One of the first things that I work on with clients is teaching them how to stack. A stack is super important, and all the clients know when I say something to them and I'll say, hey, you're not stacked. They know what stacked means. And a lot of times this is something that's not talked about, especially when we're training, especially again, taking a woman who was never athletic, right? Who doesn't have this natural internal sense within their body. And I remind everybody, I was never athletic. I was not that person. I learned to be over time. But learning how to move in an athletic way and to have the stability internally can make a world of difference when it comes to preventing injury. So what is a stack? So a stack basically is this area of our core. So we have our internal obliques, we have our transverse abdominal muscle, which is lower down here, and we have a certain position in our pelvis, right, that is aligned correctly so that we are not overusing certain parts. So for example, I call this the bend and snap position, which we have probably seen if you watch Legally Blonde at any time in your life, but it's this position, right? So we see this stance a lot. We see this extensive lower lumbar curve, right? Also, what comes along with this type of position, hip flexors tend to be on a lot. Sometimes people will say, or quite often, people will say, gosh, my back really hurts a lot when I stand all day, okay? So that is one type of postural pattern. Another postural pattern that we see is the sway back, right? So the sway back kind of looks like this, like that's the sway back. So we're standing, right? Maybe not feeling anything in the backs of our legs. When we try to stand up straight, we end up just extending, right, to stand up straight, and we never had touch with in that position a stack. Another type of pattern I call Captain America, right? Some people come in and they always stand like this, like, I'm here. Here I am. Yep. That's me. And they always default back to this position. I call that the Captain America stance. This can also be associated with a little bit of the bend and snap stance or the anterior pelvic tilt stance. It has a certain assertiveness to it, right? So they're standing. It has a certain stiffness to it. So it could have a stiff back pattern too. And then we also have the hypermobile category of people or hyperflexible category of people that they're standing, and I kind of describe them as loose Gumbies in the wind, right? That they're just kind of, their bodies are kind of just flowy, very wavy, right? And they have really no sense of stability. And in a later video, I'll talk about each one of these 4 patterns and how it may pertain to you when you try to start to work out. But what is most important about understanding a stack is that when we do movements like a squat, like a lunge, like a step up, like a deadlift, if we don't understand, okay, the purpose of this stack, which is to keep our pelvis in a certain alignment, right? Keep our rib cage in alignment, then we're going to be able to feel these very important external obliques. Then we're going to get to feel these very important internal obliques, and our ability to stack also helps us to ground down into the floor, because a lot of times, and in another video I had talked about compensation, right? Our body compensates. A lot of times we don't feel this grounding down into the floor, that we are standing on the floor. We're kind of just like, if you notice and you stand up, some people who tend to rock forward, like they'll rock a lot, they're just on the balls of their feet, right? They're really not grounded down into the floor. And when we do this, right, so you're going to see a difference in my pattern, right? People here, they'll think they're standing up straight, right? And they're like, yes, I'm straight. Yeah, I'm straight. But they're unstacked, because now we have this rib cage that is flared out in the front of us. We have this pelvis, which is turned back the other direction. We have no ability, okay, to feel that sense of internal stability. So when I go down to squat, right, I'm going to be stuck at a certain point. I am not going to get a good squat. And not only that, I am going to feel so much in my quads. I'm never really going to be able to ground or utilize my hamstrings and glutes when I'm doing things unstacked. And stacked is more of a, I would say, a proprioceptive internal feeling that we're activating key aspects of the internal stabilizers in our body that helps us to move biomechanically so much better. So for example, in a sway back pattern, right? Somebody who tends to stand kind of with their pelvis underneath them, when they go into a lunge, right? They're gonna feel off center and off balance, right? Not only that, when they go into that lunge and they go down, their knee may push really far forward, right? And they may feel a lot of knee pain after some time, right? They're never really gonna actually use their glute muscles until they understand how to work their pattern in a way that it's actually going to change how they move. And when that happens, when people start understanding their pattern, okay, then they start to say, oh my gosh, I feel muscles I never felt before. Oh my gosh, my knee doesn't hurt anymore. Or, oh my gosh, my low back doesn't hurt anymore. Because if we're trying to work out, right, we don't want to have all of these pains happening in our body. I mean, granted, sometimes something may happen acutely, right? But we don't want every single workout attempt to feel like our body is under assault. There's a very big difference between good soreness and joint soreness, or good soreness and like crippling pain soreness, right? We don't want that. We want that, I know I worked something and it actually feels good. Yeah, I feel a little sore, but I'm not dying. It should not feel like that, because you want to be able to go work out again in another day or so, right? You don't want to have to take a week off in order to recover from your workout. That is not going to help. So I'm going to give you an exercise on how to find and feel your stack. So this is our exercise in how to find our side abs or our stack when we are laying, side lying in a 90-90 position. This is a great exercise to teach people how to bring the awareness to different aspects of their body without necessarily being in workout mode. But also too, when we go back to my analogy of the Karate Kid and the wax on, wax, oh wait, this is wax on, wax off. This is paint the fence, right? When we go back into that analogy, how he learned, right, how to access other parts of his body and movement and have it be drilled in so he knows exactly what to do when his body is meant to do it. That's what these types of exercises are for. This is not necessarily to push a ton of weight on a leg press and expect to get that type of feeling. No, this is how to feel exactly what you're supposed to be feeling. So then when you do push a ton of weight on the leg press, you're not going to be compensating by using your hip or by using your knee or by using your low back. You're going to know exactly what it is you're supposed to find, feel, and then fire to move your body or move the weight. So the side lying 90-90, you'll need a wall, something like that, depending upon how much head height we need to have. Sometimes we use pillows to be rolled up. Something that you can maybe squeeze if you have a little ball in between, or a yoga block, that's helpful to have. And then I also use a towel underneath, and I'll show you what for, just as again, another proprioceptive reminder. So the side lying 90-90, we're going to lay in our side position. Okay, I'm gonna take this pillow and I'm gonna have it be underneath my head. So I'm here, okay? My feet, okay, are flat-footed against the wall, and I want to make sure when you're watching, right, you can see here, right, that I am not here. You see how right now my line, I don't have a 90-degree bend here. I should have a 90-degree angle here. And then when I'm here, I'm also not like this, right? This is not getting ready for bed, right? So I'm creating this line, this straight line down my body, right? So I should feel like I have my right shoulder right now laying on my right side. Okay, so I suggest you do this laying on your right side. And I have my shoulder, my right shoulder, directly under my left shoulder. So my left shoulder is not slouched forward like this. Okay, because again, we have to think straight angles, straight lines. I have my left shoulder stacked underneath my right shoulder. Okay, I'm going to take this ball and I'm going to put it between my inner thighs on the higher end, not necessarily down at my knees, okay, but this higher end position, okay, and there, I'm going to find my line. Now, when I'm here, I'm going to say, I would say to a client, okay, take a breath in, exhale. As I'm exhaling, okay, I want to make sure that I could feel my rib cage start to move downwards. So I feel my rib cage, okay, move down towards my pelvis. So when I'm doing this and I take that breath in and I go, I could feel my rib cage tip down a little bit. And I think I might just raise my head up a little bit more. So you may need an extra pillow because you want your neck to be even. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So after I do my exhale, you may feel left ab, okay, because since I'm laying on my right side, okay, you're going to feel your left ab tilt down, okay, towards your pelvis. And you can even kind of feel for it. So when you exhale, okay, you're going to notice that you're going to feel this internal oblique. Let's say this internal oblique, then we have our external oblique. So these two areas of our side abs may connect, right? And if you have a hard time being like, is it on? Is it on? I tell people sometimes a little cheat code for it is to do a little cough and then hold the end of the cough. So practice. And then they may notice, and I'm like, hold the end of the cough. Don't just cough and relax, right? So you're gonna, and then you're like, oh, okay, now exhale. And you may notice that that starts to turn on. Then what you want to do at that point, okay, is underneath here, underneath our abs here, we want to create like a little tunnel. Okay, so I'm lifting, so it feels like I'm taking my right hip and I'm pressing it into or downwards into the mat, right? And when I'm doing that, I'm then therefore creating this little tunnel. That's where sometimes I might take a little rolled up something and I put it underneath people and I'll be like, create space for that to sit, right? So don't squash it, right? But allow some space for that. Imagine it's something that you're just trying to keep in place and you can't let it escape, but we don't want to squish it, okay? We just want to have it hold very gently, okay? Then after I do that breath, exhale is step one. Find that connection. If you need to do the little cough, step two. Then we're going to press that right hip into the floor and create our tunnel, right, which is where our towel is. That's step three. Then I'm going to push my feet, my left heel, my right big toe connector, my right little toe connector into the wall. When I do this, I am going to look to find the back of my hamstring, the back of my glute muscle, okay? And I'm going to look to find that feeling. And I have to be able to keep this stack on, okay, while I'm pressing into the wall. And when I say press into the wall, press in like maybe a 3 or 4 out of 10 pressure. So if 10 is extreme, press in about 3 or 4. And what you want to then bring your brain's attention to is, do I have this internal oblique connector on? Do I feel my right hip pressed into the mat? Do I feel this little tunnel that I've created here? And notice, do I feel now my abs are on? Am I in a straight line? So if you're not sure, ask somebody to look at you or take a picture, put your phone behind you and take a picture, right? So to make sure that you're not all rounded and collapsed, right? So when we're here, we're in this position. So we're doing our side lying stacking and our grounding. The grounding is the pressure into the wall. So I feel my heel, I feel my little toe connector, my big toe connector on both feet. So if someone was to come up, they wouldn't be able to move my feet. So if my feet just easily move, I am not grounded, Okay, and I have to feel that grounding. And what I want to feel is this whole downwards connection. So even my left shoulder here, okay, if I'm laying on my right side, my left shoulder, I feel my shoulder even sink down towards the wall this way, or down towards my hip. So I feel everything is a downwards arrow down to my feet. And if I feel too much of my knee, just pull the hip back a little bit, and then you're going to start to feel your hamstring and glute. Okay, and then again, bring your brain's attention. Do I have my abs on? Take a breath in, exhale. There's my abs. Okay, so in this moment, you want to notice I have my abs on, I have my tunnel, I can feel my shoulder down towards my hips, I feel my left heel, big toe connector, left little toe connector, and the same on my right foot. And I feel all of this happening at once. And then you can add another element and put about a 3 or 4 out of 10 pressure on the ball. And that's gonna light up your inner thighs, okay, or your inner adductors. And then when I do this, I have all these points on, so you want to bring your attention back to all of those points, okay? Your internal oblique, your external oblique, heel pressure, hamstring pressure. You want to feel all of these things on, and then I want to take a breath in and not lose it. So I take my breath in, exhale. Good. Okay, and I'm paying attention to all of those points. Okay, so I'm not just like laying, okay, with no connection. Because when people stand up, they stand up with no downwards connection. So if you did this right, you may have felt everything ground down towards the wall, okay? So you felt all the pressure going down towards the wall. And this is the feeling that we want to have when we're standing up. So when we're standing up, we want to feel that internal oblique. We want to feel that lower transverse abdominal muscle. We want to feel our heel and big toe connector, little toe connectors press into the floor when we're standing, right? And we want to find and feel our hamstrings and glutes. This is a very important internal feeling that we should have before we go lift heavy weights, okay? It is 100%, I believe, absolutely in lifting heavy, okay? I encourage all of our clients to do that, but only when they are able to understand truly what does it mean to be stacked and stable. Then you can load effectively with weight. Okay, now we're going to take this and we're going to do this in a standing version. So in order to find your stack when you're standing, for example, okay, if, first of all, I want you to pay attention to what you feel in your feet. Notice, do you tend to feel the balls of your feet more? What are you feeling when you're standing? And you're going to watch my pelvis really carefully. So when I'm standing here right now, I am very forward foot pressured on the balls of my feet. And I tell people a lot of times when they're trying to find their stack, just as we did in that side lying 90-90, right? We want to feel, or if we're finding it on the floor, in our hook lying position, right? We want to feel that where is the floor? So I'm taking this backside here, okay? And I'm like, okay, I feel the floor. Okay, floor's not here. I'm not so far away from it, right? But I feel like I'm shifting back. Now my pelvis is tilting up towards me, right? And if I take a breath in and I exhale, and I exhale, and then I can find that connection again that I found when I was doing my side lying 90-90, right? So a lot of times when people do this, I'll have them hold on to something in front of them because they feel like they're gonna fall backwards. So if you have something that you can hold on to when you're here, so instead of being in this tilted position forward like this, right? I want to be, see how I'm kind of adjusting my body. I'm going back onto my heels. I'm imagining my pelvis, okay, tilting backwards a little bit. I feel my heels going down into the floor. That sometimes people start to notice that they feel their hamstrings engaged, right? When I'm standing like this, okay? I can also take that breath in and I exhale and I feel my rib cage, right? I feel my rib cage drive down into my pelvis. So I'm not in that extended, flared out position like this with my knees locked out. Watch my knees, right? My knees should have like a soft bend, and you can see me tilt back here, right? But it's very important that you involve your breath into it. Sometimes you can even hold like a kettlebell or, nothing heavy, just like 5 pounds, right? When you're here, okay, if we're in that tilted position, take a breath in, exhale, start moving my elbows out in front of me, not the weight, right? My elbows out in front of me. And you can see my position shift back, right? So I'm no longer here. This is very important, foundational, right? To learn to be in this stacked position that I feel my hamstrings are now activated. My glutes are now activated. I feel my heel connect to the floor. I feel the connection of my big toe and the connection of my little toe to the floor. I feel my inner arches. Sometimes people will say to me, but I feel like I'm round-shouldered. And really, in reality, sometimes they actually are, but they try to fix round-shouldered with extension, okay? And they think they're standing up straight when they're doing that, but they're really not. All they're doing is extending their rib cage forward. So all they're doing is going like this further into that forward position, right? And that then tends to make us compensate more. We tend to use our knees more. We tend to use our quads more. Okay, so when I get into this stacked position, okay, and I try to go down into my lunge, I have to maintain that stack. I cannot go down and let go of my stack. And that is one of the hardest things in the beginning that clients have to learn, is how to maintain their stack. And the stack is very nuanced. It has certain variations to it, but it's always this sense of connection within the body, right? That then enables them to use the muscles that were supposed to be used for this exercise or whichever exercise, instead of compensating into their knees or into their hips or into their low back. So I hope that part makes sense. Once you understand stacking, I encourage you to go through the playlist. Okay, go through the playlist and start practicing some of those exercises while keeping your attention to your stack. And it's not that we're always just crunching our core to find our stack. It's really just a position that we end up moving our pelvis. So we're reorienting and repositioning our pelvis and our rib cage to then find that internal stability. It should never feel like, trying to find my stack. Like, it shouldn't feel like that, okay? It's just a noticing awareness, and it's a different center or a different stance, different way that we're standing vertically on the floor, okay? So understand, going through this stacking video, then go into the rest of the exercises and be very focused and very aware of a lot of the nuanced feel. I promise you 1,000 times over, okay, 1,000 times over, you will get to where you want to go faster when you learn to actually really connect biomechanically, neuromuscularly well with every muscle's intention. Then you will be able to build full muscle all around you, and you will then be able to lift heavier, which is what they're telling every single woman to do now, right? But you cannot lift heavy when you are on an unstable, unstacked surface. You will hurt yourself, and you don't want to do that. You want to be in the game for a long time, okay? I know I want to be in the game for a long time. I tell my daughter all the time, if she ever has to put me into a home, like if I ever have to go into some type of nursing home or something, please make sure there's some free weights there, and make sure that I can still deadlift. And if that's the way I go out, deadlifting with some 1 rep max, then great, yay for me, okay? But I want to be able to do this for a long time. So I hope this information helps you. Take care, like, subscribe, keep watching. I'll have more. Bye.